This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
President Joe Biden's administration said on Friday it has increased purchasing of crude oil to replenish the Strategic Petroleum Reserve following its historic sale from the stockpile in 2022. The Department of Energy on Friday issued 2 solicitations to buy a combined 6 million barrels of crude for delivery to its Bayou Choctaw site in Louisiana from September through December. If those offers and previously announced ones are fulfilled, the department's purchasing rate would increase to about 4.5 million barrels per month for September, October and November from about 3 million barrels now.
China's crude oil imports fell 8.7% in May from a year earlier, official data showed on Friday, as refiners scaled back purchases amid heavy plant overhauls, subdued profit margins, and weak demand for refined oil products. Imports last month by the world's largest crude oil buyer amounted to 46.97 million metric tons, or about 11.06 million barrels a day, BPD, data from the General Administration of Customs showed. That is up from April's figure of 10.88 million barrels of oil per day and off a strong base a year earlier at 12.11 million barrels of oil per day.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
India's fuel consumption edged higher in May from the previous month. Data from the Petroleum Planning and Analysis Cell of the Oil Ministry showed on Friday, as strong industrial activity and general elections boosted fuel demand in Asia's third-largest economy. Total consumption totaled 20.49 million metric tons, 4.84 million barrels per day, in May, slightly down from 20.69 million tons last year, data showed. Demand rose 3.2% on a monthly basis from the 19.86 million tons consumed in April. India is the world's third biggest oil importer and consumer. The data is a proxy for the country's oil demand.
Oil prices edged down on Friday and posted a third straight weekly loss as investors weighed OPEC plus reassurances against the latest U.S. jobs data that lowered expectations that the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates soon. Brent crude futures settled 25 cents lower at $79.62 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude fell 2 cents to $75.53. Data showed U.S. jobs growth accelerated far more than expected in May, keeping the Fed on track to hold off starting to cut interest rates until September at the earliest. The European Central Bank went ahead with its first interest rate cut since 2019 on Thursday, despite an increasingly uncertain inflation outlook. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Copper prices in London hit the lowest in 5 weeks on Friday, under pressure from a stronger dollar, stronger than expected U.S. employment data and mixed trade numbers from top metals consumer China. 3-month copper on the London Metal Exchange was 3.7% lower at $9,773.50 per metric ton by 15:56 GMT. After breaking below the 50-day moving average at $9,860 to touch its lowest since May 2 at $9,755. The dollar surged after data showed the U.S. economy created a lot more jobs than expected last month, suggesting that the Federal Reserve could take time in starting its easing cycle this year.
China's exports of rare earths in May climbed 35.9% from a year earlier, customs data showed on Friday, buoyed by a wave of restocking from overseas buyers. The world's largest producer shipped out a record high of 6,217 metric tons of the group of 17 minerals last month, data from the General Administration of Customs showed. That compares to 4,566 tons shipped in April and 4,576 tons in May 2023. Rare earths are used in a wide range of products including lasers, military equipment, electric vehicles, wind turbines and consumer electronics.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Russia said on Friday it was declaring a federal emergency in 10 regions because of damage to crops from May frosts, a measure that will help farmers with extra funds but which officials said should not derail export obligations. The move came as no surprise after Agriculture Minister Oksana Lutz said earlier this week that she hoped it would be introduced, paving the way for insurance claims by farmers. Deputy Agriculture Minister Andrei Razin said on Friday that the impact of weather problems on farm output would be minimized and that Moscow would fulfill all of its export commitments, the state TASS news agency reported.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.